Over the past year, 10 Investigates has produced dozens of investigations, including 12 What's Brewing episodes on YouTube, uncovering problems, holding the powerful accountable. These stories have led to changes in local policies and state laws that help to protect you. Our team never stops working for you. 10 Investigates now takes a look back at the stories shaping our community.
From the fentanyl epidemic to school safety to protecting our environment.
We want to show you some of the biggest stories we've uncovered throughout the year.
Here are 10 of our 2022 investigations.
From the ocean to the springs, here in Florida, we are surrounded by water, and it's one of our most treasured resources. But there's a chance it might not be that way forever.
We've contaminated with our groundwater to levels that are said to be safe to drink by our public health departments, but are anywhere from 20 to 100 times or more higher than the natural levels of nitrogen in our natural groundwater, our unpolluted groundwater.
We also spoke to a former legislator who drafted laws to protect our springs. He says the state is not following the law as intended. Is DEP right now breaking the law?
I don't believe that the DEP right now has followed through on the directive of the Florida legislature, and that's a simple fact.
Starting in June and throughout the summer, we tested the water at springs across the entire state. You can see the testing results in our story at 10tampabay.com/10investigates.
Whether it's a canal, neighborhood pond, or something larger, Florida is #1 in the nation for cars and trucks crashing into the water. But we found only Pinellas County trains their firefighters for water rescues.
Our average response is 3 to 5 minutes. So while we're responding to that call, they're getting into that wet gear, that water extrication gear for the rapid diver. So as you saw today, when they get on scene, they can actually get somebody out of the water within 3 minutes if they find that victim quick enough. The idea is to get them out if they happen to be trapped in the car where there's a pocket of air. So it buys them a little more time so we can actually get in there, force the doors or whatever have you, and then get them out. We also have ways to get air into them.
Now more counties are looking at funding for water extrication team training. Firefighters estimate it costs between $4,000 to $5,000 to purchase the initial gear for one diver and another $1,000 for training that could save someone's life when every moment counts.
For 3 years, archaeologists have been digging to expose some of the Tampa Bay area's buried secrets. Hundreds of graves from erased African-American cemeteries covered by homes, schools, and businesses. These painful reminders of our segregated past are now raising serious questions for the present, a topic we explore in our recent special, Erased. This year, 10 Investigates also highlighted concerns over Tampa's cemetery task force meetings held behind closed doors and whether the meetings violate the state's sunshine laws by keeping the public out. Many of these grave discoveries have impacted African-American cemeteries, but there are examples of others. We showed you how many graves from the old St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery along North Florida Avenue in Tampa are unaccounted for and could be here on this vacant school property. After seeing our report, an archaeologist at the University of South Florida added the site to the state's historic file. So now it is flagged to help prevent future development over the site. Our Erased special is streaming on 10 Tampa Bay Plus.
In our most viewed What's Brewing episode of the year, we showed you how hidden camera crimes are on the rise. We revealed a hidden camera was found in a Tampa VA bathroom, and a former Hillsborough County Public Schools fashion design teacher was convicted of recording students in a changing room.
I was completely nude because it was a fashion design class, so we literally sewed our own clothes and made clothing. And he had a fitting room. It was like the storage closet in a teacher's classroom that everybody went in there to try on their pieces, make sure it was fitting.
We asked a security expert to show you how to spot half a dozen hidden cameras in this kitchen. Scan the QR code on the right side of the screen to watch our full episode of What's Brewing to see what to look out for.
Teachers under investigation. 10 Investigates explored how some teachers are still in the classroom even after they were investigated in other school districts. After our story aired, Polk County made changes to their hiring policies, including having the superintendent review each affidavit of separation from previous employers, looking at personnel files, including discipline and investigations.
I feel like teachers have to be more aware of who they're teaching, like it's our second home. There were signs from the shooter before this happened.
4 years after a shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, we uncovered that fewer than half of the employees in Bay Area school districts had the required training to identify troubled students. We found out there was no deadline for that mandatory training, but because of our story, leaders passed a law. Now every school district will be required to notify the Florida Department of Education that at least 80% of school employees have gotten the mental health training by July 1st, 2023, and every year after that.
Who's driving the bus? 10 Investigates discovered some drivers behind the wheel of those big yellow school buses have multiple crashes on their records.
Hello? We just witnessed a car hit a school bus, and the car is actually underneath the school bus.
10 Investigates took a deeper dive into how districts use a point system to evaluate who can stay on the road and how that system varies by county.
While a former Bay Area mosque youth volunteer awaits trial, we uncovered there were concerns at the mosque even before Ehab Ghonaim's 2021 arrest. He's accused of drugging and molesting boys at his Pinellas Park home and on overnight trips. But before that, we found that leadership at the Islamic Society of the Tampa Bay area was told in 2017 and again in 2020 about accusations that Ghonaim had inappropriate contact with boys in another state. They let him keep volunteering with kids anyway.
Mr. Ghonaim, what do you have to say to the families? Mr. Ghonaim, there's nothing you want to say to these boys?
Ghonaim's case is expected to go to trial in February.
8 years after a 63-year-old man died in Tampa police custody as he had a diabetic emergency, TPD is making big changes.
What happened to George Floyd that mobilized the entire world was the exact same thing that happened to Arthur Green Jr. It's the exact same techniques and the exact same outcome.
We were the first to tell you how TPD agreed to change its restraint policies as part of an agreement with Arthur Green's family. No hashtags, no viral videos, but there is dash cam video from a Tampa police cruiser off Central Avenue. As Green had a diabetic emergency, officers pulled him from his car, forced him to the ground and into handcuffs and a leg restraint. The medical examiner says he died of a diabetic episode, but an independent report says he died from restraint asphyxia as officers held him prone. Under the modified TPD policies, officers cannot use their weight to interfere with someone's breathing. They have to stop applying weight if the person is restrained, and once handcuffed, they must turn them to the side or let them sit up as long as they are not a threat. This change comes alongside a major settlement with the city of Tampa over Green's death.
Chances are you may know someone struggling with an opioid addiction.
According to Live Tampa Bay, the overdose rate in our area is 10% higher than the state and 50% higher than the nation. Nearly 3 people die every day in the Tampa Bay area from an overdose.
That's why we put together our 10 Investigates special Overdosed, highlighting the impact of fentanyl in our communities and the possible solutions like drug testing strips, safe places to use, and tougher prosecution for those who deal these deadly drugs.
We don't quite understand the impact it's having because we haven't been able to do the research fast enough to keep up with the epidemic.
He did not take those pills intending to die. He had collapsed on the floor right outside of the bathroom.
I'm gonna lose my wife. I'm gonna lose my kids. I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna be homeless. I might die.
Then we took it a step further and showed you how drugs can be here in less than a day after crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. But Customs and Border Protection officers have a new tool to try to stop it, scanning cargo like what you might find at an airport.
We have shipments of machinery. Machinery crosses through here. It's #1 inland port. So for steel items, we need something that can penetrate the steel so we can look inside. Refrigerated, frozen commodities is another one. So this high energy, we can actually see what's inside.
You've probably heard of Narcan by now. This overdose reversal medication has been seen as a silver bullet to save lives. But now a vet tranquilizer called xylazine is creeping into the drug supply, and it's making Narcan less effective.
Narcan has no effect on xylazine. So if someone is overdosing due to fentanyl and xylazine, the Narcan will only mitigate the effects of the fentanyl and not the xylazine.
And so what does that look like in practice?
In practice, it makes the treatment and the saving of lives more difficult.
We uncovered that Floridians have been dying with this drug in their system for years, and the problem is getting worse.
You can watch our special Overdosed in a digital exclusive with the DEA in Tampa, streaming now on YouTube and 10 Tampa Bay Plus.
You can also check out all of our stories from throughout the year at 10tampabay.com/10investigates.
And if you think there's something we should look into, reach out to us. Email tips@10tampabay.com or look for us on social media.
If you'd like to see these stories in their entirety and many more, we've made it easy to access on our website. Just scan the code right here on your screen with your phone. A link will pop up and it'll take you to the 10 big investigations of 2022.